says, delight in him and he will give you the desires of your heart. What I think is that God obviously places those desires because he knows years down the road he's going to fulfill them.
Yeah. Oh, so I like that.
Yeah.
Say that again.
Well, God.
What's going on, guys? My name is Irvin Angulo, and welcome back to the Money and Mindset podcast. Today we have Kate Wilson, founder of Foster and Heart. Kate, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so obviously this is a little change of pace for us. We usually talk about finances and that sort of things, but today I really wanted to go into wealth is more than just money, and what better way than doing it for the podcast than a person that literally adopted 5 kids.
Yep.
You started off as a foster mom. Right now you have 8 kids.
Yes.
And you don't really, that's not, is that a career? What does that even look like as far as fostering goes?
I mean, not necessarily. Like the ones that I have in my home are not a career. It's more just a passion and a desire to help. But starting the nonprofit obviously has become my career mixed with my passion.
Yeah. How did you even get to that point? Like, foster care is crazy. I know very little about it, but what I do know is you're taking in someone who, one, probably doesn't have the greatest opportunity, and you're giving them a chance at basically, doing good things. Like, what is that like? What is that like for
most
you?
of the times, kids are coming in because of a situation that's happening in home related to parents, right? So a lot of parents right now are just falling on hard times, what's going on in our society, communities, people are just struggling. So what comes from struggle is usually addiction, dirty homes. I've gotten kids whose parents have been pulled over for drunk driving. So those are the type of things we're seeing. Yeah. And, they're deemed unsafe. The police come in, health and welfare come in, and they decide to remove the child and place them in a foster home. And the goal is that the parents can get on their feet and that they can get their kids back. A lot of times people think, the goal of foster care is adoption, but it is not, is reunification. And
that's awesome.
They work really hard. And something like I like to break the mindset of is like, I'll get a kid in my home and someone's like, I can't believe those parents. And I'm like, honestly, my mindset is always like, this could happen to anybody. Like you could have a situation happen where it was unforeseen and then you need help and support. And so the parents have to kind of choose whether they're going to wallow in that. If your kids are removed, that's the lowest, that's the bottom, right? You've hit rock bottom. So they have to decide whether they're going to fight for their kids and get them back, or they can wallow in that. And kind of when you see kids go to adoption is when you don't see the parents really do anything. But a lot of parents, I've fostered probably around 60 kids now. Majority of them will go home.
That's awesome.
And it's amazing, especially as a Christian, to support a family and help them reunite. Yeah.
Have you seen foster parents give you the kids and then just fully turn their lives around for the better?
100%. You mean the bio parents? Yes.
Yeah.
100%. And honestly, I cannot imagine. I will get a child in my home and I always think, oh my gosh, how is this mom handling this? It breaks my heart. And so I like to come around and be like, you can do this. Yeah. This is what, they'll ask me what do I do? And I'm like, follow what you're told to do and fight for them. And they do. And that's what I love. I love to see the parents that will do everything and anything to get their child back. Yeah.
When you think of foster care, at least for me, my first reaction is oh my gosh, I can't believe these parents gave up on their kids. But in reality, I bet it's so hard on them. That's not easy for anybody to do. I bet the majority of parents are heartbroken 100%. That they got to that point.
Well, and a lot of people think there's a lack of love. There is not a lack of love. These kids are very, very loved. Yeah. It's an addiction problem. And honestly, as a Christian, we know it's a sin problem. Yeah. And so it's a cool opportunity as a Christian to wrap around a family and see them overcome and get their kids back. But yes, I mean, I've stood in parking lots hugging moms, who have no teeth from drug addiction and telling them, you can do this. I'm going to take care of your babies till you can get them back. And just building that relationship with them is amazing.
Yeah. What led you to want to create Foster and Heart? What was it that got you to that point? Who was Kate Wilson before Foster and Heart?
Well, if you knew me before, I've always had a passion for foster care and adoption. When I was 16, I got caught up in a really bad group of friends and who were doing drugs. And I was the good girl of the bad girls. Yeah. So I had a friend who was 16 who had a 1 and 2 year old, and she was addicted to drugs. And I saw the effect of her addiction on her children and the way they were treated and they weren't taken care of and the neglect that they went through. And one day I showed up at her house because I would take her daughters and, give them experiences in life. And I showed up and they were removed from her and put in foster care. And I remember thinking, I want to be on the other side of foster care one day because I know this is what she needed in order to get her life on track, and it's what they needed. Yeah. And so I was like, I want to be that safe place for a kid to go while their parents figure everything out. So then I wanted to foster. I just assumed I had to be married.
Yeah.
And that did not happen for me. And so yes, we believe in it. Yes, one day. And so I just, 2018, just felt like I was asking the Lord, I'm like, what do you want me to do with my life? And God's like, you already know. And I instantly knew I was supposed to be a foster mom. So I got into it. And I honestly thought I'd foster one kid. I just did not have the big picture in mind. And it was
new. It was new.
Yeah, I just was like, I'm going to foster a kid and I'm going to help this family. And, and then I got my daughter Navy she was 2 at the time. And when I went to pick her up, I met all her siblings and I was like, I can take them all. And so I had to really prove myself and fight for that because they were like, you're a single woman. You can't have 5 kids. That's a lot of kids.
Yeah.
And so ended up about 1.5 years later, adopting them.
Wow.
And it was like mentioned to me like, hey, you're done fostering now because you have 5,
Yeah.
And I just thought, I'm not done.
Yeah, that's right.
So how can I do something other than bringing them into my home?
Yeah.
And so came up with this idea to create a home for sibling groups to go to so they wouldn't be separated. And
that's awesome.
That one person or that many other siblings who understand what they're going through are not taken away from them. They can all be together and not have that secondary trauma. So started working on that, and long story short, the Lord told me to quit my job.
What were you doing?
I was a kids pastor at another church here in the Valley, and I was going into a meeting, and God's like, quit it.
Wow.
And this was on a Wednesday.
And it's not like you're quitting like this like you're quitting like something you're very passionate about in kids ministry.
I've always been passionate about kids. I loved kids ministry. I loved being able to teach the kids the Bible and their value, they're loved, and God has a plan for them, all that. But it was like, quit, like you're done. And so that was on a Wednesday. On Friday, this is mid 2020. Like I want to say March or April of 2020, I went to, Pastor Chris' birthday party. Yeah. Anyways, we're all sitting there and it came up and Pastor Ken was basically like, go for this. So he really gave me basically the platform and the door to walk through it and believe in myself that I could do this.
Yeah. Well, the word says he gives you the desires of your heart.
Yeah.
But it says delight in him, and then he will give you the desires of your heart. And I think I maybe talked about it a few podcasts ago, but what I think is so cool about that is you originally had, the heart for kids, but you delighted in the Lord, and then he provided an opportunity for you to continue to do what it is that you're passionate about. Yeah. So when you're in unison with the Lord, it's like his desires are now your desires
100%.
And you're together, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So,
well, one of the things I think, and this is just, I read it one day and it like dawned on me. It says, delight in him and he will give you the desires of your heart. What I think is that God obviously places those desires because he knows years down the road, he's going to fulfill them.
Yeah. Oh, so like when
you're
that.
Yeah. Like,
say that again.
Well, God places the desires in your heart because years down the road, he has plans to fulfill them. Wow. So like me wanting to adopt, I've wanted to adopt since I was 6 or 7. And then me wanting to foster since I'm 16 is because God knew who I was going to be 25. I don't even know how many years it is, but later. Yeah. And I just think that's what's so cool. So when you're delighting in him, it's not like he's just going to give you any desire. Right. He's like, no, I'm going to give you these because this is what I have for you.
Wow.
So it's cool to look back and be like, even the desires I have now that have not been met, I know he's going to fulfill them because
he's done it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Right. Like how can you doubt a God that continues to fulfill the promises he's made you?
Absolutely.
It's impossible.
No, it's impossible.
We serve a good God. We don't serve like a mediocre God. We serve a good God. And when he gives you a desire, he's going to do everything he can to accomplish it.
Amen.
And obviously you have to walk through the right doors and be obedient and say yes when you have to say yes and no when you have to say no. But God, at the end of the day, ultimately makes all the final decisions. Not for us. He gives us the choices, right?
Yeah. But if you're delighting in him, you want what he wants.
Exactly. So, you want what he wants. Yes. I love that. What's it like? So I have a foster story, kinda. We were trying to foster, I won't say names, but 2 kids, and the system just didn't do the best job we felt like in order to put us in the right position to be able to do that. We were fully willing and we knew the parents needed it, but the system just wouldn't allow it. Why would that be, or why does that ever happen? Have you ever seen that or no?
Were you, sorry, I'm like trying to get a bigger picture.
Parents
like,
were on drugs.
Yes.
Parents
were you
were
a
on
family
drugs.
relative?
Yeah.
Well, that's very interesting to me because they usually always try to place kids with a family or a fictive kin, which means somebody who knows the kid before they came into care.
They ended up never going to foster care.
Oh, so maybe they just didn't have enough evidence to bring them into care.
Yeah.
So that's a whole different thing. But usually when a kid is brought into care, they will work really diligently to place that child.
That's awesome.
With a family member. Maybe there just wasn't enough,
Yeah.
to prove that they
right.
needed to be in care.
Yeah.
So that's probably what it was.
Yeah.
But usually if it comes to drugs and, they're placed in care.
I remember
pretty
they were
quickly.
like, well, we need to catch it in the act and yada, yada. And we're like, dude, it wasn't even like they suck. It's like, no, we're just trying to help them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like just give them a month, give them 2 months.
Well, honestly, we
could
know
keep the kids
that
for a little bit.
Losing your child has to be the lowest of lows. And so some people need that in order to build their life back up again. And so like you wanting to come around and support them is amazing because it will benefit them as a whole and as a family. So
ever since my wife and I, we are middle school sweethearts, but
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? But ever since we were, in high school and college, we would always talk about always wanting to adopt a kid. Mm-hmm. Like that's always been something that I've been extremely passionate about. I think it's one of the coolest things you can do. One of the most godly things you can do. You're taking someone from their current circumstance and then giving them like a better life, right? And allowing them to fulfill the things that they were called to fulfill. I'm not saying you can't do that over here, but it just provides a better way of doing it. What's it like for you seeing as your kids get older, start to have like different dreams, maybe that they wouldn't have had before? Well,
my daughters want to run Foster and Heart when they grow up. And that's is like the most amazing thing as a mom to see. Yeah. They also want to be foster moms because they've been through it. And so they, even my foster daughter right now, they had the end of year school little video and both of them said, we want to be foster moms. I'm like, I couldn't be more proud of them. Like,
because you're a superhero to them.
Yes. And that's that's so cute because they told me that the other day, but I don't feel like that. I just have such a heart to help kids and parents. And I just love it. And I feel like God has placed this in my life and this desire. And I love to see other people get involved in it. Yeah. So I'm just really passionate about it. It's not, we're the hands and feet of Jesus. Truly. You're like stepping into a situation where you get to be the hands and feet of Jesus. So I love it. So I feel like, yes, adoption is incredible. It's like, I really believe the closest thing to the heart of God is when you call someone who was not yours. Mm-hmm. And, and my kids, I adopted my kids right before I turned 40 and I had this fear, like that I would never be a mom because it wasn't happening in my life. And I just was like, God is so good, because 40 is kind of like that deadline for a woman, it's like, you're done at 40, you're not going to have kids. And so what's so cool is the same month I turned 40, I adopted my 5 children. So it was like so cool to see how God's like, no, I've had you all along. Yeah. Like this is all, in his plan. So I think, yes, I do believe like bringing them from what they were or the family they were in to my family or in any situation, they're going to obviously have like different desires stir up because they're seeing different things.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Cause I bet, and I'm sure you've dealt with like older kids, but they've probably came in with like a perspective of I'm never going to be anybody in life. And hopefully by the time you're done with them, it's like, no, I'm called to be somebody.
Well, and we get to show them the love of Jesus. That's like the most important thing. Like to me is like, we have kids who've never heard the name of Jesus, never walked foot in the doors of a church and being able like, you're going through something really difficult right now, but God is with you. Yeah. And we just had, this was a couple weeks ago. We've had our kids come and go at the Mimi's house is what we call it at the foster home. Yeah. And one weekend we had all these kids come back and one girl brought her mom here. So it's like this generational thing that we get to see lives changed and lives encounter Jesus, which is incredible.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. I used to be the youth director here at this church, Capital Church, and you would bring in, kids constantly, and they were always a good time. Yeah. They didn't catch it right away, but once they caught it, it was like a night and day difference, which is so special. What is is your dream for Foster and Hart? Like, what is the, I guess, quote unquote goal, or is there never going to be an end goal? It's just continue to help people.
Yes, continue to help. I definitely want to see, obviously we're in Idaho, a home in every region in the state of Idaho, and then hopefully go nationwide. That's the vision God gave me. I really do believe this type of home is like essential for the foster care, for health and welfare, just to have that place for them to go initially. And I don't know if people know what happens, but let's say, kids are removed. Let's say they get a sibling group of 4. They start calling down the list of foster families. Not many people are equipped or ready to take on a sibling group of 4, right? And so they end up splitting them into separate homes.
Yeah.
And then it takes them a while, even if they find someone, to get them all back together. So our home is just that safe place for kids to go.
Yeah.
So they don't have to be separated, and for kids, so they're not sleeping in an office at the health and welfare.
Is that how it goes? If there's not a place to put them?
Yeah. And it's really crazy right now, the amount of kids coming into care, the large sibling groups. I am probably going to butcher this a little bit, but I believe I was just told there's 61 teens across the state of Idaho who do not have homes.
Wow.
And there was 42 sibling groups that came in. And this was probably a week ago, I was told, within that last 30 days.
Yeah.
So there aren't families even really equipped to take on 2 kids right now. So that's a passion that we have, get families to not only take on teens. A lot of people are scared of teens, nervous about teens. And I think you have to use wisdom, especially if you have kids in your home.
Right.
But also be open to taking on those larger sibling groups.
Yeah.
We get calls for sibling groups of 6, 7, 5, you know? And so we really feel like we definitely need to have more homes here so that we can meet that need initially.
Yeah. And you're working on you have the Mimi house, but you said you were working on a second home off camera.
Yep.
How's that
we're
going?
opening, we get into that September 1st, and we hope we'll for sure be open by October 1st.
That's awesome.
So we don't have to renovate this one. We're just moving furniture in, setting it up, getting it ready. And that one's going to be named Bubba's house.
Bubba's house.
Yeah. So everyone we're going to name after a foster child that has made an impact on people around them. So
yeah. That's awesome. Did Bubba ever come to this church?
Yeah, Bubba's here right now.
Oh, is that the one that I just said was so cute?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's a cute kid.
Yeah.
I would name everything after Bubba.
Everybody loves Bubba. So
that's awesome. How many kids have gone through Mimi's house? Like, how many kids has that supported all in all? Do you keep track?
Yes, we do, but of course I don't. I think we've had at this point about 50 kids come through in 7 months.
Wow.
So, and they've stayed anywhere from a couple days to 3.5 months.
Wow.
4 months. So our goal is, like, when they come in our home, the department placement team, there's a team that looks for placements for kids.
Yeah.
They're actively pursuing another home for them, but that they can stay together in. So the one that we had that stayed 4 months actually reunified with parents, which was really, really cool, that sibling group. So we've seen all types of, some kids will move on with family members. Yeah. Some kids move to general foster homes, is what you call when they're not related to them. And then we've had some reunify, which is really cool.
That's awesome. So Mimi's house, that's fully staffed. How many employees does Foster and Hart have now?
I think 18.
18 employees?
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, and then we're going to start hiring again for the second home, because we have what we call direct care staff, and they work, like, we have someone on 24/7 that is awake. Yeah. So no adult lives in the home. Every room is filled with a kid. Every bed is filled with a kid.
But there's always an adult there.
But there's always an adult on shift. So the night person is up all night to meet the needs of the kids in the home.
That sounds like a crazy house. Yes. That's gotta be crazy.
It is, because you also not only mix, you have sibling groups, we have different sibling groups. So right now we have, 3 different sibling groups in the home and a single child.
Wow.
Is that right?
So how many kids total?
8 kids.
So 8 kids total.
Yeah.
And they're obviously all on summer break. So you're with these kids 24/7.
Yes.
Holy smokes. What do you do during the school year? Do they all, so like if a kid comes in and they were from, let's say, Caldwell, but they came to Mimi's house, do you automatically enroll them into another school?
No,
or do
we
you have
keep
to go
them,
back
we
and
try
forth?
to keep as much as normal in their life. Like, we don't want to disrupt everything in life, so we'll take them to school.
Right, because they're already going through so much.
Yeah, so we don't want to remove them unless there was a need, like there was something beyond, that we were told to put them in a different school. Yeah. We've had kids from Twin Falls come, and those kids we did enroll, obviously, in a different school. All the way to
Twin Falls,
but that's why we're trying to get homes in all the regions. So like Bubba's house will be in a certain region, and those the kids from that region will go to that house, and that way we're not shipping them all over or driving them all over.
Yeah, shipping them.
We would be like going to Caldwell, Napa, like it's just all over. And so we're trying to get homes in every area so that they'll just go to the schools around them.
Yeah. And on this podcast, we talk a lot about wealth, obviously, and making money. How does a nonprofit stay running? Like, how do people use their money as a tool to bless the nonprofit?
So obviously donations. We have monthly supporters that give money, and then we have big donors. Right now, we're doing a campaign to raise an additional $65,000 to open our second home, and that's for the startup costs. Like, we're moving into a home that has like no furniture, nothing. Yeah. So think of every little thing you have to have, and then we have to. The money will also help pay our staff for the first 30 days. Yeah. So obviously, we get donations, but we also have a contract with the state that helps for all the kids that come into our home.
Yeah. And $65K sounds like a crazy amount of money, right, for a month. But when you really think about it, with all the kids that are filtering in, I'm sure they filter in with, they probably don't have, toothbrushes,
they have
clothes.
Nothing.
Yeah. So you got to supply them with all that kind of stuff. So it's not like $65K for a couch and a TV.
Yeah.
It's $65K to make sure these kids are well taken care of.
Yeah. And what we call is the essentials, get them all the essentials. Like, what would you need to get through the first week of entering when you walk in the doors with nothing? And majority of them do come in the doors with nothing. I was with our teens yesterday. It was so cute because she was talking to one of her parents and they're, do you need anything? She's like, no, they provide everything for us.
That's awesome.
I was like, that is just really cool to hear.
That's a really cool thing to hear.
And she was driving and I was like, what would you wish people would know about foster care? And she said, it's not that bad. She's like, I had this really bad picture of what it was going to be like, and it's nothing of what I thought it was going to be like. And I thought that was really cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
What is your biggest motivator as far as Foster and Heart goes? Because you have such a big heart for these kids, right? How is it that you continue to get better, improve, get new houses? What is it that makes your heart burn for these kids?
Honestly, it's just seeing the need. I saw what my kids went through being separated. They were separated for 9 months, and just wanting to make sure that no other child has to go through that.
And what was the cause of the separation, if you don't mind me asking?
Because they couldn't find a home to take all of them. And so it took them 9 months to get them all under my roof.
So they were just filtering through different...
They were in consistent homes until they came to me, but they were in different homes. So we would see each other on visits, or they would see each other on visits, and the other foster moms and I tried to stay in communication so they'd see each other outside of visits. Yeah. But that's just traumatic for kids, and watching them having to say goodbye to their siblings when they should not have to.
That's heartbreaking.
And my kids were, when I got all 5 of mine, so I went from a single woman to 5 kids under 4 years old, from 4 months to 4 years old.
That's crazy.
And so what they had to go through just should not happen. And I understand that it happens because there's so many kids coming into care, and they need to get a kid in a house and in a bed and a safe place for the night. So that's why it happens. So my motivation is the children. And a lot of times people have this negative view of foster kids, they're the kids with behaviors and they have all these issues and all these things, and they're beautiful children. And I just think when I went through a hard season in my life, all I needed was someone to come back and walk me through it and hold my hand through it. So even in their struggle, our view is just to love them through it. And I feel like most of them handle what they're going through better than any adult would, rejection, even if you're not rejected, rejection is hard. Being separated from everything you've ever known, even if it's a bad situation, it's all you've ever known.
It hurts.
And so, these kids crying at night and, having a hard time being away from family is devastating to me. And so they're my motivation.
I love that. I love that. You can't judge a kid off of the cards he's been dealt because of their parents. None of these kids did anything to put themselves into the position they're in. They didn't go and do drugs. They didn't go abuse alcohol. They didn't get a DUI, right? So how can you judge kids for something they had no control over?
Yeah,
you can't.
For sure.
You just got to love on them.
Yeah. And a lot of them, even the teens, they're coming from, and this is not all, I'm not saying all, but let's say a child's coming from an environment where drugs are done, and then they're coming into your home where it's not allowed. They're like, oh, okay, I've been used to this. They're trying to adapt to this new rule, new life, okay, and not doing the things that they did before. And most of them are so, if you're like, hey, I understand that's what you came from, but this is not what we do in this house, they're always respectful, and they're always they desire to have, to change and to overcome the things that they see their families struggle. So you know, like they might come in a certain way, but you get to watch them change before your eyes. And it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Off camera, I told you that I really wanted you to talk about the wealth of like love and wealth of family. And you said you had a great example of that from yesterday. What was that?
Well, yes. So, you know, when kids come into care, they set up family visits for them right away. So they're not like not seeing their family. Usually it's within a week they start doing these visits.
Yeah.
So I had to drive a child out to the department yesterday. And when we walked in, there was a family that these kids lived in Mimi's house. Mm-hmm. And I mean, they just lit up seeing me and ran up and hugged me. And then I said to the mom, because I don't know, sometimes you're like, do you remember me? I don't know. I was like, they used to live with us. And she's like, I remember you. And she hugged me. And I was like, it was just so cute. So they'd come out all the time and say hi. And then like a few minutes later, another kid walked in that lived at my house.
Oh, wow.
And then another, like, it was like the most crazy moment where I was like, wow, like not only have I been able to impact all these lives, but they have impacted my life.
Wow.
And that is really where true wealth is. Like, obviously you need money I have 8 kids in my home. I need money to feed them, right? But, you know, I feel like there's so much more wealth beyond that, and like just relational wealth, and like the idea that I hopefully have made an impact in their life. I know they've made an impact in mine.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty incredible. My foster daughter, we were all sitting at the dinner table one day, and she said, we're really lucky in this house. And I said, why? She's like, because we get to eat every day.
Wow.
And I think if that doesn't put it in perspective, like she thinks I'm wealthy. Like she always tells people I have a lot of money, which obviously I don't. But we're taken care of. Like all of our needs are met. All of her needs are met. So in her eyes, we're just living this amazing life, this wealthy life. And I would rather have her have that perspective than thinking, you know, we're going off on a jet somewhere, you know, like she has a beautiful perspective of what true wealth is. And that's being cared for and loved and taken care of and all your needs met.
That's beautiful. Growing up, we were raised in a house with a single mom, 6 kids.
Oh, so you,
yeah. So we weren't foster kids. My mom did everything she could to make sure we were taken care of. She worked extremely hard, started her own business doing interior cleaning and worked her butt off. But I know what it's like to be wealthy in love and in family and in relationships. Like you said, nothing beats it.
Yeah.
Like when you were talking, I was thinking of if I made, you know, $20,000 a year, but had an awesome community, people that loved me, took care of me, talked with me, you know, just continued to encourage me, I could live with that.
Yeah.
What I can't live with is $1 billion and no one to support me.
No community. Yeah.
No love, no nothing. I wouldn't be able to do it. So it just goes to show that at the end of the day, what's really important isn't money, it's love, and it's love coming from other people.
Yeah.
People loving people is more important than any dollar.
And being able to like also just tell them that Jesus loves you.
Yeah.
Like that's wealth too.
Yeah.
Like for them to even receive that, and watching my kids, and I'm talking like my kids, but also the children that come in our home and the children at the worship Jesus that they didn't even know about 2 months ago is a beautiful thing. I think that's wealth too.
Yeah. 100%. What Pastor Ken said was faith is a currency. And I think that just loving Jesus, like you said, is also a currency. Like it brings so much more to your life than a dollar amount ever could.
Yeah.
Like God and God alone is so what does it.
Yes.
That's exactly what does it.
Yes.
I love that. So you have your 5 adopted kids. You have 3 foster kids with you right now. They're literally playing in the gym.
Yeah.
What's that like? What does a day for Kate Wilson look like?
I like to call it controlled chaos.
Yes.
No, yeah. Because it's honestly, it's not. I think maybe people looking from the outside in think it's like, wow, how do you even get anywhere or do anything? But it's not that bad. They're all really, really good kids. And obviously I'm a single mom, so I do everything on my own, by myself. And I have really great kids. Like even we were just leaving right now, my oldest daughter, Bubba, I was like, can you get him dressed? And she did it for me, you know, so everybody kind of chips in and is a part of everything. And so I was also am at the home a lot. I go over there. Summer's a little crazy because I have 8 kids home in the school year, you know, my kids are at school, so I'm in the home working a lot. Yeah. But, we just make it happen. Try to live an adventurous life, doing things. I keep them busy. Yeah. So my house stays clean.
There you go.
Yes.
That's awesome. What is your greatest highlight? Actually, let's go this. What's been like one of the the most sad moment in foster care that kind of like perked your ears and you were like, okay, what the heck? I gotta do more.
Oh my gosh.
You know, some
you're
people
gonna make me cry. Like every kid's story will break your heart.
Yeah.
And it's just heartbreaking. I can't even think. I think my hardest one that I've ever had that just broke my heart was for a child that should have never been in care, but like an unforeseen horrible circumstance happened to her mom and she was placed in care. And I remember just like watching her on the trampoline jump and thinking like her mom is missing this.
Wow.
That grieves me so much. And then another one, I got these little boys. I just had them for a weekend. So what happens is usually kids are, removed. Yeah. And then there's this hearing that happens around 3 days in, and they decide whether the kid, if there's enough evidence, I guess. I'm not on that side. So I'm basically to keep them in care. And they found there wasn't enough evidence or whatever. And they called me and said, could you take these boys back to their mom? And I was like, I would be honored to drive them to her.
Yeah.
And like taking her kids back to her and her crying. And she's like apologizing to me. And I'm like hugging her because I can't even imagine what she went through those 3 days without her children and not knowing where they were. That grieves my heart. So I feel like every story would just rip your heart. And so again, that goes back to why I'm motivated to do it, because somebody has to. And I want them to, like, when they come in my home or Mimi's home, obviously there's horrible things going on, but we want them to be kids again. And so help them to kind of take their mind off that. When kids come into my home, I have all these kids. And so they're like, oh wait, I forgot, I just was removed, put in a police car and all that. And I get to like have fun with these other kids. So I did have this little boy come to my home one time. He said, I always kind of have this relaxing first evening, like if you want to stay up, whatever, you just went through a traumatic event. Let's just watch a movie. And I heard him tell my son, I thought I was getting kidnapped, but I realized this is a wonderful place for children. And yes, I felt the same way. I was like laughing, but at the same time, I'm like, oh my gosh.
That is so sad.
So sad that's what he felt. I figured kids were scared, but not like your mind going to kidnapping. And then he gets in here and he's like, wow, I'm having fun. This is amazing.
Yeah.
And so I think doing it for those reasons, like having that safe place for kids to go, because somebody has to.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but that's just so funny. I thought I was getting kidnapped.
Yeah. And then he's like telling my son this, and I was like, oh, poor buddy.
Yeah.
Like I never really thought about that
they're
extreme.
Being stripped. They're being stripped of what they're used to.
You have a random person come in your home and take you from your mom or your dad, I'm taking you to this other random person's house. Like that's terrifying.
100%.
So
I'd be terrified if someone did it now.
Yeah, right. Like, wait. So like just putting that, I just try to make it like we're the most welcoming, like my kids are so gracious with every kid that they're like, here's a toy. Do you want this? Do you want that? They just share everything. They have such a heart for kids in foster care. Yeah. And I think because they've been through it, they know.
Yeah. So that's kind of, your saddest moments, but what has produced your highlights? Like what's something that you are so extremely proud of, or moments that impacted you and you were like, wow, I can't believe myself and God did this. I think
my first would be how I fought so hard for my 5 to get them all under one home. And then as a single woman adopted 5 kids. I mean, that was like a surreal moment, but also this home that we've created, there's been when we did the ribbon cutting, I was like, this was just a thought. Yeah. Like God gave me, but you're kind of like, okay, God gave you this dream, but is it really going to happen? And then watching people like come around and support it and give to it and like really believe in this dream I have has been so surreal. And then just, I'd say one of my biggest highlights was when one of our teens got baptized here at church, and we took all the kids up front. We're all like up there as she's getting baptized, and every little kid was like, I want to be baptized. And God just telling me this is so much more than earthly, it's eternal. The investment we're making in them. I think that was, I was like crying because I was like, wow, this is so amazing. I just wanted to have a home for kids, which is needed and important, but eternally, they're giving their life to Jesus.
That's crazy.
Even if they go back, let's say they go back in a horrible situation, they will remember this. And all of our teens have said when they turn 18, they want to come back and work for us, which is just amazing. Yeah. Like they want to come back and give because they know what it's like. And I just think that's like a testament of even what we've done in the home with them and how they felt welcomed and loved and supported, that they want to come back and do it. I think that's amazing.
Yeah. You're still young in the process of all this. And I think something that probably hasn't even happened yet, but is going to happen is there's going to be people, in their 30s and their 40s going back to Kate Wilson and saying, thank you for taking care of me. Thank you for having Foster and Heart. Like there's going to be moments where kids are going to graduate college, start careers that they were told they'd never be able to start. And it all came from Foster and Heart. It was the hope that you provided, the works that you provided, and you walking in this is something that is unlike anything else. Like you're not getting paid big dollars to take care of all these kids.
No.
Like you're probably just getting enough to get by, and your heart for it is just, it's unheard of. Like if you had a heart for anything else, I think anything Kate Wilson set her mind to, she could have done. And what she did was Foster and Heart.
Yeah.
So whatever it is that you have planned for Foster and Heart, I'm going to be praying that it's tenfold.
Amen.
It's 100-fold.
Amen.
More kids are going to be saved by grace, by God's grace, and then get to know Jesus because of Foster and Heart.
Amen. Thank you.
The highlights haven't even started. I don't think. There's been great moments, but there's going to be times where you're going to be like, what the heck?
Yeah.
How did this happen?
Yeah. I get to do this. That is amazing.
And you do it full time.
Yes.
Full time. Your day to day is taking care of kids. A lot of people don't want to do that. That's why they take their kids to daycare.
I don't.
And you're saying,
I like my kids with me.
Yeah, you're bringing them all in.
Yeah.
Strangers.
Yeah.
They're strangers to you. You're strangers to them. And you're taking them in and they leave family.
Yes. Oh, that's another thing that people, because we'll ask you, how do you give the kids back, and
I bet that's so hard.
It is hard, but it's also an honor. And then if you've built a really, really good relationship with that family, they keep you in their kids' lives.
That's awesome.
So I have a little girl, I fostered from 3 months to 9 months, and I still babysit her. I see her, we send pictures and videos and all that. So I feel like if you build that good relationship, you end up with this extended, beautiful family. Like she's still my kid's sister in a sense,
Yeah.
They love her so much. And it's a beautiful thing to see like this extended, like yesterday, seeing all these kids. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like this beautiful extended family.
Yeah.
So I don't have to keep them all in my home. I don't have to adopt them all in my home, but we're building this beautiful family.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. Has there ever been times where, because you fostered your kids and the oldest one was 4, has there ever been times where she's like, hey, I want to meet my bio mom?
We do have an open adoption.
What does that mean?
So basically we can see them
or
cool. Communicate with them. I will just say that's a whole nother thing to navigate because I have 5 children and all of them handle it differently. So trying to, handle it is a hard thing.
Right.
And just feeling out what's best for each one of them. Like certain ones are okay, certain ones are not okay. And so I think the hardest part is for my kids is, when they see their bio dad, then they go back home and don't have a dad. And that's really hard for them to go, just things you don't expect when you adopt.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. So just trying to navigate that. But they have like aunts and uncles that come to church here, cousins that come to church here. So we do try to keep an open adoption. And I want my kids to know where they came from and who they came from and all of that. So,
Yeah.
But I think my kids' biggest thing right now is they really want a dad in their home. So every night they pray for a dad. I'm like, it's like, Lord, you better come through for them. Okay? It's not for me, it's for them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Well, we're believing that for you. In closing, what are some things that you have going on where people can donate or can support you in any way? Because I think that what you do is obviously amazing, and I'm hoping that a lot of people are going to be impacted by this. By like when you said the kid felt so blessed and wealthy because they had dinner.
Yeah,
like that honestly kind of gave me a different mindset. I think oftentimes I forget from where I came from, but then hearing things like that takes me back to my childhood. Like we didn't know we were broke. because we had food on the table.
Yeah.
And that was all we needed. So what are some ways that people can help you? What are some things that they can do?
Well, they can, like I said, they can give to the startup cost fund that we're trying to get right now. Honestly, if people want to give specifically to buy certain furniture, like maybe you want to buy mattresses for our house, you can go to our website, fosterandheart.org, and reach out, and you could do that. That'd be a cool thing to buy. I think like you are literally providing the bed that the child is sleeping on. Yeah. But we also have an essentials project that we do. So what we realized is that we can meet the needs of the kids coming in our home, but we wanted to meet the needs of kids because not every kid coming into foster care is going to come into our home. And so we started this essentials project to fill a duffel bag with the first week of essentials a child would need. Yeah. And so they can either give money directly to that, or they can go out and fill a bag. Yeah. And we have a list on our website of all the things that you could buy. But it's basically like pajamas, clothes, underwear, socks, toothbrush, hairbrush, everything a kid would need, like a stuffy, just to make them feel loved. And I will tell you, every child who opens those bags, it's just beautiful to watch. I mean, one of our girls opened, it was like, a Squishmallow. I've always wanted one. And so we kind of think like, okay, is this really going to make an impact? It is huge because they're getting things that they've never had before, and they get to pull the tags. We want everything brand new because we want them to feel that value and that worth when they open that bag and know like the community's coming around them so hard. So you can give financially, like money, or you can go out and buy stuff. Yeah. So either furniture for the house or clothing items and essential needs for children.
Yeah. And I just want to encourage anybody that does feel that on their heart to give to this nonprofit directly. I went to a foster home once, like, I won't say where, I won't say when actually, but it was to look at a roof, and I walked in and the house was just so unkept. And
that is grieving to
me.
And
it broke my heart, and it made me do a little bit of research before I had you on. And not every foster home like is prepped to help. And I'm believing that you're going to start a trend where it's going to bring like a light to it, and it's not going to just be homes for kids to sleep in, but it's going to be homes where kids are transformed.
Yes.
So
Amen.
I'm believing that for Foster and Heart. Is there anything you want to tell them out there that can encourage them or motivate them? Because I know people around you. Yeah. There's so many foster moms and foster dads coming out of like nowhere. Yeah. And it's because of people like you. So
yes, I hope so. I hope to encourage people to get involved. There's a verse in the Bible, James 1:27, and it says, true religion is this, to care for the orphan and the widow. And we know obviously foster kids are not orphaned. I mean, there are children that are legally up for adoption, but you know, the goal of foster care is reunification. But for me, that's the closest thing I could associate or the word orphan to is foster care here locally. And it says to visit, to help, and to care for. And so I really felt like God showed me like not everyone is called to foster, like actually bringing a child into your home, but all of us are called to either visit, help, or care for. And so God gives us 3 different ways of how to do that. And so we do monthly events. You can come and just love on kids. And the more kids to love them, the better, and encourage them and believe in them. It's incredible. Like my kids, I will just say this too. Watching people love my kids is probably the most beautiful thing ever. And there's so many people in this church that love my kids well. Yeah. Like, and go above and beyond for them. And it's beautiful to see. So I think like maybe you don't have money, you can come volunteer and love on them and show them support. Yeah. Maybe you have money and you can give. Like I always joke, I feel like I'm the hands because I'm doing it, but we need the feet. That's where the money comes in to get us there. And so like, you know, I don't feel like you have to bring a kid home, and maybe you don't even feel called to volunteer, but you can give in some way. Yeah. So I just feel 100%. Like as Christians, this is something that we're called to do, and to wrap ourselves around the most vulnerable among us. And really that is children in foster care.
100%. Yeah, no, I love that. I feel super encouraged. And it just goes back to what I say all the time. Like, wealth isn't just money. Stop thinking wealth is just money when there's people that are in need of so much more. We're not making money. And if you follow this content and you're following my story, I hope you don't think that I'm just trying to teach you how to get rich quick. I'm trying to teach you how to obtain wealth that I have even obtained, but then also continue to have wealth in your marriages and your families and your relationships in Christ. Like there's so much more than just money, and having you on honestly really opened my heart to things that I had forgotten. So
yeah.
I really, really appreciate you. Yes. And I know that people watching are super encouraged, but
well, thanks for having
awesome.
me.
Yeah. Let's pray real quick. I just want to pray real quick for Foster and Hart. God, we just thank you for Foster and Hart. I just pray that the best days are yet to come. I'm praying over Kate Wilson, all her little kids, the 5. God, I pray that they are kids that are going to change the world Amen. For the better. I pray any kid that comes in through that house leaves transformed and leaves with a renewing of their mind. So God, I just pray over each and every single kid, over all the feet, over all the hands. I pray that donations come in ways that they never even expected, and you just continue to bless them. It's a ministry. It's a beautiful ministry. So God, we thank you for what you're doing in your beautiful, glorious name. Amen.
Amen.
Man, guys.
That was good.
Yeah. Guys, we thank you for watching the Money and Mindset podcast. I hope that this was encouraging to you. Life's more than just money. You got to have people like Kate Wilson changing the world. And we're just here to be the feet, like she said, providing in any way we can. So, man, we thank you. We thank you. We thank you. And guys, we'll see you next time. Peace.